An old cult, you say? Izanagi had led Merelias to his library on the second floor. Everything was stuffed with books and scrolls and archaeological artifacts. After Dean had looked a bit sick upon hearing about the drinking of angel blood, the devil thought it better to get the information right away. There was no need to let his friend suffer from unpleasant details he didn't need to know. Azazel had stayed with Izanami, and Merelias hoped the demoness would be sufficient to keep an eye on the Watcher. You see, I am keeping track of all those myths and legends around the world. It's a bit like espionage on your kin, the demon said with a wink. Nevertheless, he feverishly thumbed through a book bound in leather. There's this one culture, Mesopotamia, and they talk about the flood like the Bible. A lot of things are very similar to the Bible. Do you know what I think? Izanagi stepped closer like a school teacher, daring Merelias to make a guess. I don't know. They dislike baths? With all due respect, but you are a silly sort. Izanagi was now fully immersed in his scholarly self. Myths are the more or less inaccurate real tales of their gods. Of us. The demon put a hand to his chest for emphasis. Gods knowing about the flood, knowing about before the flood, must have been on Earth before and during the flood. But your fraction started your little experiment after the flood. Exactly, after. The Watchers were imprisoned and no one escapes from Duardil. We were in hell, leaves only one creature. Merelias stared at Izanagi, debating if it was madness or possibility. Don't be ridiculous. You don't honestly suggest. He trailed off when he saw Izanagi's firm and definite expression. There are survivors of the Nephilim, Lucifer, and what if they want revenge? What if they are killing the ones who tried to kill them? Merelias felt himself grow tense. What was he getting Dean into? I think what's much more interesting is the possibility of Nephilim creating abominations by feeding humans angel blood. Merelias turned to get back to the third floor. I need to get Azazel. We need to get to the ruins of Mesopotamia. Be careful with your Watcher, Lord Lucifer, Izanagi implored Merelias with a stern note in his voice. He is a deeply troubled soul without a way. He is salvation and damnation at the same time. I am well aware of that. He taught humanity magic. He should have been able to tell you about the spells worked with blood. I am sure he chose to keep his silence. A tremor of uneasiness went through the fallen angel at the realization. Azazel was manipulating them already, but why bring them to Japan? Have my thanks, Izanagi. Hurrying upwards, Merelias found Azazel gone. Izanami said he would wait outside, and the devil hoped desperately that it was true, but there was no one outside. No Azazel, and what was probably worse, no Dean. Panic threatened to render his mind useless as he struggled to not lose his head. The white piece of chalk caught his eye, lying in the grass near the pond. On the cherry tree's trunk next to it, Merelias could make out some archaic letters that said only one word. Dungeon. Making the connection, the devil hurried into the estate's dungeon only to be greeted by darkness and an occasional curse. Damn it! Dean muttered under his breath. Finding the right cell, Merelias looked inside. His friend was trying to use the magic residing around him in the world to no avail. Merelias! He called out when he noticed the shadow. I am here, mate. Found something that belongs to you as well. Reaching through the bars, he gave Dean back his chalk. I wanted to use the spark, but it refuses to let me use it, the young man explained while Merelias opened the locked door as if it were nothing. It's Izanagi's and Izanami's demon magic. They keep themselves undetected and protected in case of danger. The Japanese would never question a god, but the new age might give rise to questions concerning the longevity of those two, if not more. Did they abduct me? Dean asked with shock, but Merelias waved it off. No, they have gone far too native to care about supernatural matters. But Azazel is gone. The devil could see how the man was lost for words at the fact. I hope your tracer works, Merlice added grimly. Dean produced a small mechanical instrument from one of his inner pockets. A string was tied to a sphere the size of a cherry. Opening a small hatch, he took a vial with the Watcher's blood and poured it into the inner workings. I hoped I'd not have to use this, he said with some regret. I don't enjoy this, Dean. Merlice tried to appease his friend. You're strangely quick to use such measures despite that. He just showed us that it's necessary, didn't he? Dean sighed in defeat at the statement. Yeah, that's true. A soft humming came from the sphere when it started to detect the location of the one whose blood it now contained. He can't be far, it's vibrating quite strongly already. Letting Dean take the lead, Merlice followed. He wondered what kind of explanation Azazel would give them to excuse his actions. Merlice just couldn't figure that Watcher out. He had to know they'd follow him. He surely did. Why run away if he knew they'd find him? Azazel didn't have much time to follow the call in his soul. Lucifer was an even opponent in both thinking and acting. Still wearing the disguise of the night, he soared through the sky, away from Tokyo and farther southeast. A few scattered houses graced the surrounding nature. They were followed by a small town. Industrialization hadn't tried to tear down the village's way of life yet, and he could hear children play in the fields. He was close by, Azazel could feel it. Discarding his disguise, he folded his wings. Women and old men bowed to him as he passed. They probably thought him to be a samurai, albeit a very poor-looking one, having not even a sword, the angel imagined. He should be grateful for Dean's intervention, which had freed him of those awfully clinking chains. Azazel wouldn't have wanted to meet him looking even more like a criminal. He perceived the sound of a hammer striking steel, and the call grew louder upon approaching it. A young man, still a boy, interrupted his task to look at the stranger entering the smithy. "Can I help you, sir?" he asked in the deeply formal version of his native language. It wasn't him, Azazel knew, but he still could feel him close by. "Is that your smithy?" the angel asked. "No. Mochizuki-san went to fetch some water from the river close by." "Are you a samurai? I don't know if he still takes orders for blades to kill." "I shall look for him then." Azazel bowed and stepped outside to hurry to the river he'd seen from above. A subtle burning sensation went out from the seal on his back. Did that mean the other two were close to finding him? Cold enclosed his heart at the thought. Not yet. He needed a bit more time. Seeing a woman wash her clothes in the river, he asked for the master smith. She pointed him in the right direction, telling the angel that the smith and swordsman Mochizuki had just passed her by a few minutes prior to his own arrival. And to his relief, he caught up with him only a moment later. Mochizuki knew. Azazel could see it from the way the man's spine stiffened when the watcher approached. The smith's brown hair was cut short and the deep blue eyes showed cold caution. Azazel would have liked to restrain himself, but he couldn't. Not giving Mochizuki a chance to react, the angel flung his arms around his son, whose appearance had made Adina's memory flood Azazel's mind. "How can you be here?" Mochizuki's voice was icy and distanced, causing Azazel to take a step back. "I won't be able to stay. I only managed to snatch away a moment of freedom." Mochizuki still regarded him with coldness, and he wondered if his son felt nothing for him. Remaining silent, Mochizuki took the bucket filled with water and turned to go. "I heard you became a smith and a swordsman. It makes my heart joyous with pride. It's not thanks to you. I had to go in order to protect you. You and your mother." Mochizuki stopped walking, but still had his back turned to Azazel when he countered with fury. "Protection's what you call it. Azazel was as confused as he was hurt. The words cut so very deep into his soul. Adina, my mother, died of childbirth, Mochizuki finally revealed. I felt it when she passed. I grew up alone and nameless in a world full of mortals turning to dust. That's impossible, Azazel exclaimed when the pain came through the fog surrounding his heart. I warded her against all harm. She died, father. Mochizuki spat the words, turning around to fix his father with pure hatred. My power killed her. Your blood. Azazel saw him clench his fists. Would his own son attack him? He was numbed by the loss and paralyzed by the rejection. Why would you do something like that? Azazel felt his soul cry out as he gathered the strength to answer in a calm voice. I see you never fell in love. It was not meant to happen. No, I keep my emotions in check. I don't procreate, and I don't abandon those close to me. The watcher felt himself flinch at the harsh and yet true words. I'm not like you, his son added. They said we were tainted and evil beings. Nothing good will ever come out of whatever I do. Nothing good came out of what you did. They made out Azazel's figure in a small village near a river. The watcher was not alone. He was talking to a man clad in Japanese clothes. We should land behind the trees, Dean suggested. Why? Merulais did not intend to hide. He was eager to hear Azazel's pathetic excuses. Perhaps he's betraying us. We should listen and wait until he's done. The fallen angel saw the reason in Dean's words, but something told him that wasn't the cause for the man's original suggestion. They landed in the shadow behind the trees and waited. Dean deactivated his little device and put it back into the pocket of his suit. It didn't take long for Merulais to conclude that Azazel spoke to no one dangerous to them. But when he wanted to step forth and settle things, Dean held him back. He deserves dignity, Merulais. We can find him if he flees. Merulais looked at the two souls, suppressing his anger. The stranger regarded the watcher with a resentment Merulais hadn't even witnessed from the other angels when he had rebelled. When the man had left, Azazel kept standing in place as if he'd turned to stone. Merulais didn't want to, but he did feel sorry for Azazel, who seemed to be breaking inside. Dean was the first to go to him. Azazel gazed at them but didn't move. His face was still a mask, yet the blue eyes had lost the clear shine that had inhabited them at the beginning of their acquaintance. Who is he? Dean asked the watcher in a casual tone. No one, Azazel answered, still keeping calm, yet his voice trembled. He's your son. The angel looked at the two friends, making the impression of a cornered fugitive. A father knows, Azazel. Dean spoke in a tone indicating that he didn't intend to harm the Nephilim. Seems I was right about not trusting you. Merulais cut in before Azazel could utter a word. You abducted Dean to get some alone time. I did. A well-placed punch followed, sending Azazel to the ground. Blood ran from his split lip, but he didn't bother to wipe it away. You crossed the line, mate. On which side are you? I keep my word, Azazel countered stubbornly, remaining on the ground. But not once in your arrogance did you think I might try to turn the tides without breaking it. Why should I save the ones who put me in chains? Although the watcher spoke in the same calm manner, Merulais felt the underlying wrath. It was only waiting to break free, but discipline kept it at bay. You knew about the magic involving blood, and you certainly know about Nephilim being the old Mesopotamian gods. How do we find them? I doubt you'd hear them out before judging. Azazel's refusal only agitated Merulais even more. If he found out that these delays had prevented them from saving Micah, he swore to himself he would make Azazel's imprisonment a living hell. Grabbing the Watcher by his hand 10, he dragged him to his feet again. "You tell me, mate, or I put you in chains right now. Do it! I have no need for freedom anymore." Azazel answered, staring dully into the sky past Meralias. When the devil hesitated at the emotionless words, the Watcher stared right into his eyes with a piercing gaze. The hauntingly empty eyes made even the devil's hair stand up. "Do it, Lightbringer, and be done with me." There was a cult of Nephilim killing angels, hidden by magic, preventing Meralias from finding or even ever hearing anything about them, and his only lead to save his brother from peril was refusing to help. And what was even worse, no amount of torture or reason or even manipulation could make Azazel cooperate. He had given up on life, leading the existence of a corpse, careless of other struggles. Meralias remembered Izanagi's words when he saw the shadow of an angel in front of him. His salvation and damnation at the same time.